We are now.
Okay.
We're recording.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I would like to call the monthly meeting of the Prison Board to order. I believe we need a roll call.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes.
District Attorney Lynn Makusa?
Yes.
Judge Noel?
Here.
Controller Classified? Sheriff Colero?
Here.
Commissioner Sinata?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
We do have a quorum, thank you. Let's roll right into the agenda items. The first agenda item, which I know we always do this twice, and I see Controller Preston is just came into the room, so we do have a full prison board. Yeah, all the members. Visitor comments. I see there's, well, technically 3 visitors. Do any of the visitors have any comments? Okay, no comments, then let's move to the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity, well, first let me ask, has everyone received the minutes? And has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any questions related to the minutes? And can I get a motion to approve the minutes of April 24, 2024?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 4, review the population report and personnel report.
Currently have 157 inmates at the Lawrence County Jail. We've got 30 females. We've got 16 inmates that are housed at other facilities at the time. Got a total of 24 inmates that are being held at the Lawrence County Jail from out of county. We've got 2 juveniles, one from Washington, one from Westmoreland. We've got 18 females from Washington and 4 from Mercer County.
What is the total number?
157.
157. And capacity, what's our max capacity? Given the ability to maintain the pods for the juveniles?
Approximately 270.
270. So another 130 we could house. As it stands right now, I did receive the 2024 revenue collected from housing out of county inmates, and this number is good as of July 10th of 2024. The total amount collected is $577,020. We have anticipated revenue. We still have some money due from June, and then of course July. We anticipate at the minimum it's going to be $73,150. All the other counties have paid in full. Like I said, we just have one outstanding payment from June from Mercer, but they assure us we will receive payment. So as of the end of July, we anticipate having $650,000 that we have received. Now, I know we set a revenue figure of $800,000. So we are well ahead of schedule, and if the warden and deputy warden can keep this pace up, then I anticipate being able to inform the county that the jail is now a surplus, at least on that budgetary line item. I have reviewed the jail's budget. Every month the warden sends me his budget, and I track where we are, what we've spent. Everything right now is on target with what, I was not part of the planning process, but whoever did the planning for the jail did a great job, because all of your line items are, they're lined up. So jail is right on track to stay within budget, hopefully come under budget in some areas. I know there's going to be some increased expenses when it comes to making repairs, but they've done a fantastic job managing their monies within the constraints that whoever did the budget is placed upon them. So we are fiscally sound there, and we are well ahead of schedule on our collected revenues. Are there any questions about any of the monies that we are receiving, about monies that are owed, about population report? Any questions that anyone may have? No questions. I know we do this every time. No?
think you said no. We had before, but I think you decided no.
So we're, okay.
I mean,
Hopefully I can remember this and I don't say this exact same thing next time. Well, if there are no questions related to the population report or the personnel report, then I'd like to move for the approval of the bills. Has everyone got a copy? Everyone received a copy of the bills?
I'll make the good bills. I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The bills have been approved. Old business. Fire alarm. As a matter of old business, the bid for the fire alarm. I know that Business Administrator Vanasco is working on this. Is that still in the process?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but we have established a direct link between LEOC, so should there be a fire, an emergency there, they will be notified.
Yes, sir. Actually, Avon came in 2 days ago and they're giving us a quote. There's one or two other companies that were contacted to come in and give us a quote.
Oh, good, so we won't necessarily be stuck with one bid. for multiples. Okay, that's fantastic. The camera system, now I know we've already paid for it. Are there?
half of it.
Half of it. Okay, where are we on the?
July 29th. They're coming in to start working.
On the access control system.
Yes. Okay, so July 29th. Do we have a target end date? And can you please explain to everyone what this is?
What this is the actual control panels that are on the housing units up in booking and throughout the jail, as far as call buttons and everything like that, as far as intercoms. It basically ties everything into our central control.
It's interconnectivity from all of the spots right to central control.
Opening doors, shutting doors, having total control of our central control.
And if they come at the end of this month, do we have a projected timeline on completion? I know we're at their mercy, but did they tell us anything?
No, they really didn't tell us anything. I would estimate probably 2 to 3 months.
So 2 to 3 months, then we'll have probably a month or two, we gotta work out the kinks. So I guess realistically, it's probably conservative to say that we should have this up and running, fully operational by the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would estimate that.
Let's reiterate that to them, that, you know, hey, look, we've been waiting, because we have been very patient
Over the last 2 years.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's time to be less patient. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could we go back just 1 second to the first issue you brought up regarding the alarms with LEOC?
yes, sir.
I heard you say you're getting quotes. I'm sure you're mindful of the law that governs us relative to the bid thresholds. Is your expectation that this expense will be less than I think it's 23,000?
No, the last bid came in at 48,550.
Well, that raises a question then. Do we have to do a sealed bid process?
I know we have to definitely advertise, and they would have to do some sort of sealed bid, assuming that this does not meet the specialty services requirement, which we would have to hear from Attorney Maduro on.
Okay.
That I'm not sure, but that is something we
So-
have to pursue.
These are essentially informal estimates
Yes,
rather than formal quotes. Is it
Correct.
best to characterize it as such?
yes, and ultimately, at the end of the day, they could not even be submitted by the jail to commissioners unless the jail has complied with the requirements. But yeah, this at this point is more information gathering.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Last out of old business would be the jail investigation. I guess in this context, I wear two hats. I would say that for what I'm about to say comes from the district attorney's office, not the president of the prison board. I want to make that very clear. From the district attorney's office, there will be a fuller disclosure of our investigation in affidavits of probable cause that are going to be filed. There will be several individuals charged with drug delivery resulting in death. There will also be conspiracy charges that will be filed along with it. Those should be filed within the next week or two. Detectives are doing some last minute data collecting before the charges are actually filed. I can say as the district attorney that the body scanner was fully operational, that there was not a difficulty or a problem or a glitch with the body scanner. The drugs, from the best we can tell, came into the jail through an inmate. I can tell you that the jail personnel did put the individual through the body scanner, and no drugs were detected because at the time the individual went through the body scanner, he did not have drugs on him. There is an internal review that we are doing of protocol and procedure when you're checking someone into the jail, which we're actually going to talk a little bit about that later on with the sheriff. But there's some changes that have to be made. But as it stands right now, the information appears that the jail personnel did their jobs professionally and competently. The individual did go through the scanner. We reviewed all of the scans, probably 5-6 times each angle, and no drugs were detected. We did ascertain how the individuals got the drugs into the jail, which you will see that in the affidavit of probable cause. But as it stands right now, that is the extent of the information that I can give to you. Any additional questions? No? Okay. You'll see the bulk of it right in the affidavit. The charges will be filed.
How many people?
That's up to the detectives, but multiple people will be charged. The FBI, not the FBI, the United States Attorney's Office is interested in the case. But at this point, I want to get the case moving as the district attorney. I want the charges filed. I want to get it to the court system. If they choose to adopt it at a later point and take it federally, that's up to them, so long as we acquiesce. But in the meantime, it's been a while, and there's some questions that need to be answered. And obviously, the district attorney's office is never going to compromise the investigation. But at the same time, I do want to satisfy the public interest in knowing what exactly happened. If someone that died in the Lawrence County Jail, there has to be answers to that. So you're going to be seeing some of those answers. But as district attorney reporting to the prison board, I can say that 1, charges will be filed, and 2, the scanner was operational. Jail personnel did everything that they were supposed to do, and the drugs came in a different, in a different manner, which obviously is going to have to be addressed. If no further questions, then I would like to move on from old business to new business. Warden, any new business that you have?
So the only thing I have to report is this August 8th, we'll have our state inspection. The state inspector will be coming in and conducting the inspection to make sure that we're doing everything properly per Title 37.
And how long does the inspection take?
1 day.
So we should,
We've been, over the last month and a half, we provide the inspector with all the supporting documents, all the supporting policies we have, and that's been ongoing for the last month and a half. That Deputy Warden Simmons has really spearheaded this inspection. I can't say enough of everything that he has accomplished to get ready for this inspection, along with all the staff over there providing the documents, providing the policies.
So this is the traditional ramp up to the actual inspection. So when they show up, they already have everything. Now it's a tour of the spaces.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, sir.
The radio batteries, I think this was something that was discussed. Are those being swapped out?
The radio batteries, I ordered 30 more additional Motorola batteries. They've all been swapped out. The radio inventory has been updated and completed. Next week, we will go from analog to digital, which is going to bring more clarity and better operating system than what we're dealing with right now, and that'll be completed next week.
The present radio system that we were employing, our batteries, obviously they worked, they powered the systems, but they were not the batteries that matched the manufacturer. match the manufacturer, and you get a clearer communication. And then the shift from analog to digital, I mean, it's going to be like they're sitting right next to you. So that's good. Continue to update, continue to modernize the facility. Window repair, I know you had 10 windows are slated. I don't know if you actually did it.
Yes, sir. We've called numerous times. Deputy Warden Spillvogel's checked on it. I called this morning and the individual from City Glass, he called me back. We have 10 windows that are in need of repair.
Okay.
I'm waiting on a phone call back today from their installer.
If you need additional assistance, please reach out. Okay. The jail would like to submit an application to the opioid advisory board for a community peer specialist position. And I'm familiar with what the request is, and I think realistically for the prison board, the only thing we have to do, we don't have to get into the weeds of what the actual request is, because that's going to be done by the opioid advisory board. But I think as an entity, we need to approve the ability of the jail to submit the request to the opioid board. Does that sound about right? And Red, I know you wear multiple hats here.
Yes.
So at this time, there is going to be a request submitted to the opioid advisory board to use opioid monies. And that request has not been submitted yet, but it's going to be coming from the jail. So for the purposes of this meeting, we're looking for permission to submit a request. So at this time, I would move to authorize the jail to submit an application to the opioid advisory board for a community peer specialist to be considered by the board for funding or not funding.
I'll second your motion. May I ask a question? It's more procedural, and I don't see Attorney Medora here, but as you know, the advisory board is just that. It's a board that advises, and they do an excellent job, by the way. But ultimately, it's the commissioners who consider the recommendation of that board. And I guess if the counselor were here, my question would be, since ultimately my two colleagues and I make a decision, is it appropriate for us to vote on this? I assume it is. Do you have any concerns about us voting on it?
No, because this is, you're actually only voting on the ability to present.
Mhm.
You're not voting on the application, you're not making a final determination. Your determination is going to take into consideration, hopefully, the recommendation or the lack of a recommendation from the opioid advisory board. But the ability for the jail to file the application is truly procedural in nature, which
I appreciate your guidance, so I'll stay with my second to your motion.
and I would offer this up also to Judge Motto.
I agree with your assessment, so.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So a motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Question, Josh. So this is gonna go before the board. Is this an allowable expense? I know that.
Well, we have no idea.
Okay.
And so that's what we have to see. So the jail's gonna have to put in their request.
From my visiting the meeting we had in Altoona
Yes.
and talking to a few people, a lot of things that sound like it should be a allowable expense aren't an allowable expense.
Correct.
Okay, so this is not saying, I mean, we need the advice of our guys, as Joe Vanasco, our
Yeah,
administrator. And
This is merely just to allow the jail to submit a request. Does not mean that request meets any of the requirements or gets approved or disapproved.
okay, I have no problem, like with Chairman Vogler. I just want to clarify that. because
Absolutely.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff which we would like to see happen been rejected.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to put us in a position where we're not saying, oh, this is great or not great. It's going to give us a chance to look at it.
Yeah, well, not only is it going to give you a chance to look at it, but it'll at least be purged by the opioid advisory
Yeah.
board. Then ultimately, the commissioners will make the final recommendation whether or not this gets approved. But for the purposes of this meeting, this is just to be able to make the request.
No problem. I just want to clarify that because I
Yes,
know
sir.
that my discussions have been, things sound that should be an automatic and this board's coming not our local board, but the other one that makes a decision is saying no, so.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Are there any other questions related to this matter? Well, we have a motion and a second. So, question roll.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
District Attorney Lamacusa,
Yes.
Judge Motto,
Yes.
Controller Prestipine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanada,
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
I do have a letter of recommendation for your Vivitrol program. That was requested by Lisa. And something I would like to float to the rest of the members. This was a policy that was drafted before COVID, and then COVID happened, and we never really made any headway. But I am interested in pursuing talks with the warden on and the courts to establish a work program for inmates in the jail, to have them work community projects outside of the facility. Now, this would be low-level offenders. We would have to put it down on paper. It would have to be fully vetted by the court system in addition to the commissioners. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed before this comes to a formal vote. But I would like to begin the preliminary stages of this. I think it could be very valuable asset, and I think that the inmates would benefit also because it would certainly help them during sentencing and contributes to an overall rehabilitative course. That being said, unless the prison board has any specific or distinct objections to it, I would like to begin putting together a proposal to formally present an informal proposal, I guess, to the prison board. Are there any objections to this?
just a question, if I may.
Yes.
To your knowledge, or Warden, to your knowledge, is this process or this format being currently implemented in other counties in the Commonwealth, if you happen to know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that. I know that there are work release programs, and it's been a long time since we had a work release program, which obviously is something that I'd like to see. But the actual, 10 inmates leave the jail and clean up city streets, I'm not sure if other counties doing it. And that's something that I'm gonna have to look into. Warden, I don't know if you are aware of any.
I'm just aware of the state institutions. They all have CWP community work programs. So they send 8 to 10 guys out and they clean up the highways and they clean up nonprofits.
So we'll be looking at the state model to see sort of what are our limitations. Obviously, insurance, and liability, and security, those are all going to be paramount.
Well, thank you both for your response. It's helpful, and I appreciate your desire to look into this. I think it's a positive step. So thank you both.
Yes.
just to follow up, it sounds like something that'd be very positive. Now, are we saying to go out and clean the garbage and stuff? Are we talking about building things or helping nonprofits that way?
Well,
I mean,
there would be a lot to discuss, but
Yeah.
I can tell you from my understanding of how the different municipalities and governments work, we would have to be very careful what we do because we do not want to walk into situations where we're creating grievances and problems for, somebody that's already employed to do this. We don't want to take work from someone. We want to be able to do things that benefit our community, that benefit Lawrence County, not just one particular area. And at the same time, there's going to be a ripple effect that, we do more harm than we do good. Sure.
I just think there are a lot of needs out there.
There are a lot of
Can be
needs.
filled and give a work type experience. And hopefully some of the inmates will, with skills that they're learning,
We're probably not going to be building things. We're probably going to be doing cleaning.
cleaning,
Um,
and just,
yeah.
I think it's something really good to look into, Josh. I think it's something that would be positive. But like you said, you got to look at all the angles.
Yeah.
It's something that always sounds good, doesn't always mean it's going to be easy to implement, so.
And I agree, and I think-
And liability for the county is something you have to,
We're going to have to vet that through
Yes,
Jason and our
absolutely.
insurance company.
Yeah.
I know the board is cringing thinking about having to do security. for
Right,
these
so I mean, but I think it's something worthy to look at.
Okay. So if there's no other objections, I'll have something drawn up and we'll have some answers to some of these questions. Last issue, and this is reared its head before, but now it looks like we have some finality in which we received a letter from you. Well, I did not receive a letter. The prison board did not. The sheriff received a letter from UPMC, and what UPMC has stated is that external law enforcement agencies that bring prisoners to any UPMC hospital are responsible for maintaining custody of their prisoners at all times throughout the prisoner's medical treatment. Hospital staff will not be responsible for maintaining any surveillance or physical restrictions on the prisoner and will not forcibly stop or impede them from leaving the facility. If a court has ordered that a prisoner can be furloughed from a detention or correction facility for medical treatment at UPMC, and the furloughed prisoner becomes disruptive or poses concerns for the safety of our staff or others, the detention or correctional agency will be contacted to request that they immediately assume responsibility for the individual. UPM staff will not guard the individual. With regard to the three things that I just read you, the first two really do not impact us because that has to deal with the arresting agencies, the agencies that have custody of an individual. But the third one could apply to us if there's an individual in jail that requires hospitalization. The hospital has agreed that they will be the policing entity for that individual that's there. So right up until the moment where they cause a problem. And then when they cause a problem, we as the prison is going to be responsible for assuming responsibility for the individual. So the way I look at that is if you have an inmate in there that's being disruptive, they're going to pick up the phone and call and say, you better have security up here because we're not going to watch this individual. So that is something to be aware of. We do, we send prisoners all the time to the hospital. Not always in this version where they've been furloughed for medical treatment. It usually occurs before they are checked into the jail. And this brings us to our most recent issue in which law enforcement agencies have been trying to book individuals into the facility and they have not been medically cleared. Now, as I understand it, you cannot book an individual into the Lawrence County Jail unless you are medically cleared. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the only way to be medically cleared is either through our medical staff or through, if we had to send the individual to a hospital for some reason, they have to be cleared by the hospital staff.
Yes, sir.
And up until the moment when a prisoner is medically cleared, they're not the county's responsibility, correct?
Yes, sir.
They remain the responsibility of the arresting agency. How about parole and probation? Same thing?
Yes, if they're not medically cleared, like you said, from our medical department, or if they see a condition that where the inmate does need to be medically cleared, we'll let them know that they need to go up to the hospital and actually get it put on paper that they're medically cleared for incarceration.
I bring this up because this is going to cause some consternation with some of our local police departments. But as the Lawrence County Prison, we have to have a uniform standard that applies to all law enforcement agencies and also protects not only the integrity, but the liability of the county, protects us from liability of the county. And it is our policy as it stands right now, absent of change, that you do not gain entrance to the Lawrence County Jail unless you are medically cleared. Does anyone need any further discussion on that? Are they opposed to that, maintaining that policy? Are there any other concerns related to that policy?
That's not to our policy, but that letter that you've just read into the record from UPMC, I hope I'm stating the obvious here that what they've written to us is applicable anywhere else that they might have a facility, a hospital, what have you, that this would be equally in force in Beaver County or Mercer County, that they're not just singling Lawrence County out. I'm assuming that's true.
And that's a great question, and I looked at the letter, and, it's addressed to, this was addressed to the sheriff. I have not received this district attorney, I'm not aware if the jail has received this yet. This came from the Pittsburgh, headquarters, but I'm interested, as you are, to see where did this letter go? I know that UPMC Jameson has a police department. They have an ORI number, which means they can file charges. Their police officers frequently communicate with other task force, they communicate with other local officers. I know staffing is an issue, and whenever you show up with somebody that's incarcerated to the hospital, it puts a lot of requirements on that police department because they have to stay with them 24/7. They've always desired the local police officers to sit with the individual so they don't have to tie up their own personnel because they're dealing with, security. This is now in writing, so this is going to be their official policy, but yes, I want to see where this went.
Could I ask the sheriff a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you be able, if you're so willing, Sheriff, to maybe consult with either the Mercer County Sheriff or the Beaver County or both, see if they receive. the
Mercer
similar-
County doesn't even, the sheriff's office doesn't even transport inmates from the jail anymore.
I see.
They have a transport team.
Yeah, they have transport.
Mercer County
The
Corrections has-
jail does.
Idaho has their own.
Mercer
transport
County's
team.
sheriff's office does not transport anymore out of
Okay.
the jail. I can check with Butler.
Yeah, I'd be anxious to see if they receive a similar letter. I just hope we're not being singled out. I'm assuming that it's a blanket policy for all UPMC facilities in various counties. I hope that's the case. Thank you both.
Sure. Normally, when I receive correspondence from UPMC, they'll always have that on the bottom. It'll tell me who the letter went to. And that's one of the things I looked at when I first got the letter. It's just to the sheriff. So I don't know if this.
Yeah, because, we take people up, we're there, we're with these people.
But maybe that's why they said it just to you, but,
I'm not saying anything about the other department, I know people, they drop off and take off. You know what I mean?
well, it's very expensive and it's time
Yeah,
consuming to
right.
leave patrolmen at a hospital waiting for, medical clearance, or not even clearance, just, sometimes when you take someone up there, you could be there for hours.
Well, yeah, you're at least there 3 to 4 hours, even to get inside.
I only have one concern, and I just want to clarify this. To me, being medically cleared means the person has some medical condition that the hospital can give attention to put them in a position to be booked into the jail. But what if the person's been arrested, say charged with homicide, and has some condition that requires ongoing specialized care? That person's never going to be medically cleared. They have to be admitted to the jail. They can't be rejected by the jail. So I just want to make it clear that at some point, that person has to be booked into the jail and his medical needs attended to.
Your Honor, I think in those situations, what would happen is the policing agencies would have to remain with that individual. They would have to remain in custody. And then if our jail did not have the facility to be able to, care for this individual, then we would send them to another facility, a county facility, or to the state for medical treatment. But yes, ultimately, we can't just let someone go
I
just
don't
because
think
you
you
have medical.
can send them to the state. You can't.
I've seen a few instances where they have been sent from the county to the state because they're sometimes they are more equipped to handle the serious.
Judge, I think this was years ago that we had someone that had very bad burns and he was in a wheelchair and the state was the only place that could house. I can't remember. I don't think it was in front of you, Judge, but I know that we have done that before under exceptional circumstances. But I also know that some of these other facilities have more, resources than we have to care for individuals medically, that we could go that route. But no, I think the message is very clear. Just because you have a medical condition does not get you out of jail. And if someone commits a wrong and they have to be held accountable, they have to be incarcerated, then that's what we have to do. Yes, Debbie.
If I could just clarify something, with Prime Care and with our counselors, when someone does come in to be booked, immediately, they are given an assessment by Prime Care, by one of their staff members. And if they do not medically clear them, then we in essence cannot accept them. And I think that's maybe where we get caught as the jail in a catch-22 situation. It's not actually, it makes us liable if we would say, well, Prime Care, they're not going to allow that person, they're not medically clearing that person, and if we book them in and we take them in and something happens, that places liability on the jail. And us having them there, then the question comes up, is Prime Care responsible for taking care of them in the event something would happen with them being there? And I think if we could just have clarification for that it's not us as jail personnel per se that are not allowing them or would say, no, they need to be medically cleared. It's our own Prime Care medical staff that say, we don't believe that we can clear them medically, and then they get sent up to Jameson. And if the arresting officers.
But it has to be
are not-
arresting agency.
The agency needs to take them. And again, it still is that officer that is stuck being up there with them. Or in an instance, if they get cleared by, they're put in a catch-22 because they're being cleared, they're being told to clear the jail if this is going on or happening. And then if the
Well, we
person
have
has
to
to go, yeah.
We have to be very clear to
Please,
the
yes.
agencies, and this is, you're gonna make sure that your personnel are trained. When they come in, if that person's not medically cleared, that cop cannot leave the person at the jail. Because now they have to stay with them until they are medically cleared, and then we can assume, control and custody of them. Now, I think it's important to say that we're talking about a very low percentage of individuals that are brought into the jail that fall in this category.
Sir, I'd have to say on average, we probably have 6 or 7 each month that we turn away because they are not medically cleared.
And they go to the Jameson Hospital,
Yes, sir.
and then they're either cleared or I guess you don't know what happens because the arresting officer would be the one that would make the decision. And if they are cleared, they're returned to Lawrence County Jail
Yes.
and then
With
booked,
the
right?
paperwork that says they're clear.
So from our standpoint, we want to make sure that we're following that procedure. But inevitably, there is going to be a situation that the judge articulated in which you have someone that has to be incarcerated and, they pose a danger or a public threat and nobody's going to medically clear them. In that situation, law enforcement is going to have to stay with them and we're going to have to figure it out. I don't know any other way around it. But you can't just release people because they have.
Well, you said the magic word, as long as release isn't an option.
Yeah, release is not an option. Does anyone else have any other questions or concerns? Sheriff?
No, only because I discussed it a couple of incidents that we were called back and they were never,
They're never booked in the first place.
it's not our responsibility.
Right. Yeah, once an inmate gets booked,
They
that
have to be
becomes the
counted,
county's
yeah,
responsibility. But if they're not medically cleared, they shouldn't be booked in. They should still remain the responsibility of the arresting agency. Is that, you understand? Okay. Okay, I mean, this is all really just informational. I don't think that we have to take any particular action on it, but it's something that came up this month and quite frankly, it's always there. Does anyone have any other questions about this? Then let's move to line item 8, visitor comments. Any visitor comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
What is a community peer specialist position?
I don't know, I haven't seen the request yet. The purpose of this was just to grant the jail the authority to submit an application.
So if it's approved, is that something salary board has to create as a position?
Well, it would depend, approved by who? Approved by the prison board?
Well, if they're going to go ahead and form it, yeah.
So
It gets far enough where,
if it gets
or
far,
far enough where they're gonna create the position, it would have to go to salary.
yes. But we do not have that authority here. That's for 2 steps down the road, commissioners.
Can we get a copy of that UPMC letter?
Yeah, let's see, why not?
You ready to-
Yeah. other questions? If there's no other questions, is there a need for executive session? See no motion for executive session. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Take a motion.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned. 40, Deputy.
Absolutely.
Take care. Thank you, Judge. See you next week.
How are you?
See you fellows on Tuesday.
You're
heading out now. We're driving to Indiana today. The rest of the trip's
We're
tomorrow.
going first, yeah, I know, there's
You
not
take
one
care of yourself, all right? Don't overdo
Yeah,
it.
you
Keep an eye on it.
No, because I'm ready to